faithfully convey value and interpret great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today I'll interpret the book for you called Influence Master. This book teaches how to use influence to get others to change. Honestly, changing people is really tough.
Like, at work, you tell your team members to show up for meetings on time and keep other departments updated on project progress, and so on.
You've repeated it over and over, but it doesn't work. Your team still does whatever they want. Or at home with your kids, you keep nagging, do your homework carefully, don't fiddle with the eraser. But the kid not only doesn't change, they get mad at you, and the relationship hits a red light. If you're facing these issues, it could mean you're lacking influence. So, how do you build influence? That's the secret this book will uncover for us. The author, Joseph Grenny, is a renowned American business consultant. He also wrote another bestseller, Crucial Conversations, which is already available on our platform. I Find You. Through his research, Joseph Grenny discovered that some people have exceptional influence and are great at using it to help others change their lifestyles and work habits. For instance, there's a Dr. Hilbert who, over many years, helped more than 16,000 high-risk individuals turn their lives around. Hilbert owned moving companies, restaurants, and repair shops in San Francisco, and he hired thieves, prostitutes, robbers, and murderers. Yet he got them all to work diligently and succeed, completely transforming their lives. Joseph Grenny interviewed Hilbert and other influence masters, and he found that their methods share common traits. He distilled a universal approach. By learning and applying this in our lives and work, we can also wield strong influence. Today, I'll explain this method in two parts. Part 1, the goal of influence. Part 2, strategies of influence. First, Part 1, influence is the ability to get people to change. And to make that change happen, first you need to be clear about what results you want them to achieve, what value to create. In other words, what's your goal for influence? You need to get this clear in your own mind. Not only should you be clear about it, but you also need to communicate it effectively to the person you're trying to influence. So only when the person involved fully understands and endorses your intention can they truly engage. Therefore, your goal must be crystal clear and instantly understandable. So, what constitutes a sufficiently clear goal? For example, saying, we want to reduce medical errors. Is that clear enough? Obviously not. That's just a vague direction. Where's the specific finish line? It's undefined. So how do we refine this goal to be clear enough? Back in 2000, an American Medical Association president named Berwick proposed this goal: save 100,000 patient lives by reducing medical errors before 9 a.m. on June 14th, 2006. Why set such a precise target? Because in the US then, medical errors ranked 6th among all death causes. Medicine's purpose is saving lives, yet daily errors killed as many as a plane crash. Terrifying. So Berwick rallied healthcare workers nationwide to save 100,000 lives by reducing errors before that deadline. What are the benefits of such a clear goal? It effectively prevents procrastination and eliminates misunderstandings. Everyone seeing this goal feels heightened urgency. It directly links reducing errors to saving lives, creating powerful motivation. That's the impact of a truly clear goal. But setting a goal isn't enough. You must identify the key behaviors needed to achieve it. Key behaviors are the one or two critical changes that, once made, ensure goal success. Why emphasize key? Because overwhelming change lists cause paralyzing pressure, leading to procrastination or half-hearted attempts. So how do we spot key behaviors? Two techniques. First, focus on important small actions. These are things everyone knows matter, but neglect because they seem insignificant. Your key behaviors likely hide among these. For example, in the previous case, after careful analysis, the American Medical Association found that most doctors don't strictly follow hand-washing rules. Because honestly, if they stuck to the rules, doctors might wash hands hundreds of times a day. Super annoying, and all that washing can cause their hands to crack. So, most doctors just slack off on hand washing. Here, hand washing is an important but overlooked small thing. The second technique for spotting key behaviors is finding moments when mistakes happen often. For instance, when do doctors do the worst job at hand washing? It's during the process of checking rooms one by one. After finishing one room, the doctor should wash hands before heading to the next. But most doctors skip it, which could cause cross-infection among patients. So, the minute or two between moving from one room to another is when they mess up frequently. By combining both techniques, the Medical Association pinpointed the key behavior doctors need to change. They must properly wash hands during the gap between checking two rooms. And after clarifying the key behavior, the Medical Association designed strategies that boosted timely hand washing rates from 20% to 50%, then to 100%, finally hitting the goal. And right there, we started to, all right, that's it for part one. We've nailed the influence goal and key behaviors. The next challenge is finding the right strategies to guide people toward changing key behaviors. Will people actually change? It hinges on two things: motivation, whether they're willing, and ability. If they're motivated and capable, both are crucial. Once motivation's high and ability's solid, change flows naturally. Now, let's dive into part two: crafting influence strategies from 6 angles to fuel motivation and ability. First up, personal motivation. What to do when someone resists change internally? This is super common. Change often demands some sacrifice, so you need to guide them to shift their perspective. If they're stuck on what they'll lose now, steer them to what they'll gain down the road. If they rationally think it's not worth it, appeal to their emotions. Make them feel that even with some loss, it's worthwhile. The book shares an animal conservation case study. In the Caribbean, there's an island nation called St. Lucia with an exceptionally beautiful parrot species. St. Lucians loved hunting. They'd capture these parrots as pets or sell them. Government fines couldn't stop it, leaving just 100 parrots near extinction. Then came Butler, a recent grad who saved the species with minimal budget. How? First, Butler showed locals how globally adored this parrot was, unique to St. Lucia, making it their pride. He added parrot puppet shows, commissioned a local band song, and flooded the island with parrot print t-shirts, a multi-pronged approach. More St. Lucians embraced conservation, even declaring it their national bird. For over a decade after 0 parrot hunts occurred, the species thrived. Butler's genius? He tapped into St. Lucian's emotional connection to the species. And a hunter once chasing petty profits now thought, how could I let this beautiful creature, St. Lucia's gift, vanish from Earth? Pride in owning this parrot helped them resist profit temptations, fueling personal motivation. That's influence strategy design. Second angle, social motivation. Humans are social. Others' opinions sway our drive. More support means stronger willingness. Conversely, more opposition makes us hesitate. But not all voices weigh equally. Leaders' attitudes matter most. Like pushing change at work, many factors affect colleagues, but the boss's stance is decisive. Whether the boss approves your idea, invests time or money, and shows strong commitment, others notice and base their support on this. This makes sense. The boss holds maximum power as the formal leader, but beyond formal leaders, there are others without titles who still lead. What defines these people? They have extensive networks and high prestige within the group.
When they speak, everyone listens carefully and reflects.
In short, their opinions carry significant weight. We call these people opinion leaders. Opinion leaders aren't appointed, they emerge naturally within groups. Like at Hilbert's company, reforming high-risk individuals, new hires struggled initially, but hardly anyone quit. A key reason, veteran employees acted as opinion leaders, leading by example, staying firm, and offering genuine care that made newcomers feel at home. If Hilbert was the company's heart, the source of change, these opinion leaders were the arteries spreading that energy everywhere. Thus, both opinion leaders and formal leaders fuel change. Designing influence strategies. The third angle, systemic motivation. Simply put, it's reward and punishment mechanisms. If people see change brings rewards and resistance brings penalties, their motivation to change strengthens. But note, rewards or punishments should only enhance existing motivation, not create it. That mean?
Prioritize personal and social strategies first. Use rewards and punishments last to solidify change.
We stress this because we often over-rely on rewards or punishments as the first or only tactic, not neglect them. What problems does this cause? Example, parents worry when their daughter shows no interest in reading. So the parents offered pocket money for reading and chores as punishment if she didn't. Sure enough, the daughter changed, reading more books, earning pocket money. Who wouldn't be happy? After a while, seeing results, the parents stopped the system. From then on, she not only stopped reading, but developed strong disgust for it.
Why?
Psychology calls this motivational crowding out effect. It means excessive rewards or punishments become the only reason for action, overriding internal drive. The parents' reward system for reading, well-intentioned, but flawed by making it the primary motivation. Big problem. The child saw reading as drudgery. Why bribe or reward unless it's awful? So never over-rely on reward systems. Use them only as supplements. As supplements, remember, more or harsher isn't better. Often just a little works wonders. Use punishments even less than rewards. They might force temporary compliance, but breed resentment or rebellion, straining relationships. So apply both sparingly. Lightly is best. Fourth angle, personal ability. If ability gaps make change too hard, people won't act. Design targeted training. Once skills improve, change flows. Say you manage logistics. Company drivers get speeding tickets often. You investigate. Turns out it happens driving department heads to airports. Poor time management forces speeding to catch flights. In this situation, drivers don't want fines, so motivation isn't the issue. But drivers don't know how to communicate with bosses without seeming disobedient. So you design conversation scripts for drivers to practice, urging bosses to plan schedules earlier. Plus, how to politely refuse if bosses hint at speeding. With these scripts, role play with colleagues as bosses until drivers respond calmly and firmly. Through targeted practice, drivers' communication skills improve. Speeding tickets plummet. Not just communication, but self-control can be trained too. Take Henry, 220 pounds needing to diet, but he can't resist high-calorie foods. A psychologist taught Henry temptation resistance techniques. When tempted, first factually acknowledge cravings. I really want that cheese. Second, recall true goals. I want a fit body more than cheese. No more hospital visits. Finally, distract. Visualize being slim or chat with friends. Essentially shift attention from the temptation source. With practice, Henry rebuilt his weight loss confidence. Like drivers and Henry, people often fail at right actions not from unwillingness, but inability. You can empower them, they just need targeted practice methods. Designing influence strategies. Fifth angle, social ability, enlisting others' help to enable change. Back to Henry's case. Henry's struggle partly came from loved ones, popular at work. Colleagues gave snacks and took him to restaurants and bars. At home, junk food bought by his wife waited on counters and in the fridge. His wife kept eating junk food right in front of him. Clearly, just boosting Henry's own skills wasn't cutting it. He had almost no shot at a real change. The psychologist told Henry he had to tell his wife and coworkers that his weight was seriously endangering his health. Plus, he really wanted a healthy body himself. He needed to ask people around him for help to keep him on track and at least stop tempting him. That's the strategy of tackling the capability issue from a social angle. Another example, domestic violence in South Africa is rampant, with about 1 in 5 wives facing abuse from their husbands.
With local police stretched thin, sociologists came up with an idea: get neighbors to step in and help out.
But people are wary about meddling in others' family issues. So the challenge was finding a respectful way to intervene. So sociologists made a documentary featuring a couple where the husband was abusive. Neighbors felt deep sympathy for the wife. So when the husband started hitting her again at home, they all gathered at the couple's door.
No knocking or talking. They just brought pots and pans from home and banged them loudly at the door.
Imagine the racket. It was their way of taking a stand and protesting.
Under that social pressure, the husband actually stopped.
Folks saw, hey, that worked. So whenever they heard abuse nearby, they'd grab pots and rush over to bang them. Soon, domestic violence vanished in the area. That's the story from the documentary. After the documentary aired, communities copied the idea all over, and domestic violence in South Africa dropped dramatically. So influence masters know people can't beat challenges alone. Solo efforts often fall short. That's when you need to help them get support from others. The sixth angle for designing influence strategies is systemic capability. Systemic capability means tweaking environmental factors to boost someone's skills. The key factors are information, tools, and space. Like in war, troops need battle orders, enemy locations, and routes. That's info. Second, soldiers need proper weapons and protective armor to fight the enemy. That's tools. Finally, the entire unit must maintain tight formations. Specific positions for each troop type matter. Moreover, when engaging enemies, securing advantageous terrain falls under spatial factors. Only with these elements can an army win battles. Similarly, if someone lacks ability, optimize through information, tools, and spatial arrangements. Life example, at a stove fish restaurant, servers bring a pot to your table, add fish, cover it, and cook live. Imagine diners smelling the aroma. They get impatient waiting.
So customers repeatedly call servers. Is our fish done yet?
Servers lift the lid, check, and say, needs more time. This repeats endlessly, manageable when slow, but chaotic during rushes, leaving servers overwhelmed. Well, delayed checks annoy customers, all effort, no appreciation. Solution? What if customers could check donuts themselves? That ease server pressure.
So, empower customers to judge.
The restaurant smartened up, added hourglasses to each table, telling guests to eat when sand runs out. Now guests get progress info from the tool. No more bothering servers, boosting service quality and efficiency. With that, we've covered this book's core insights. Brief recap. This book teaches a method for applying influence. First, set a crystal clear influence goal as an action manifesto. Identify key behaviors to change. Avoid overhauling everything at once. Then design influence strategies from 6 angles to boost motivation and ability. First angle, personal driven. Guide perspectives to choose painful but right actions. Second, leverage social motivation by securing support from both formal leaders and opinion leaders in the group. Third, design systemic motivation through rewards or punishments. Use material rewards sparingly as enhancers and apply punishments extremely cautiously. Fourth, address personal ability with targeted training to equip people with necessary skills. Fifth, tap into social ability. Enable others to assist individuals in achieving what they can't do alone. Sixth, optimize systemic capability by refining information, tools, and space to reduce task difficulty. Note: for deep-rooted behaviors, using just 1 or 2 strategies often fails. True influence requires mastering all approaches. Master. You must utilize every design method, explore all strategies, and synergize your influence holistically. That concludes today's session. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.